Good evening, Rupam. How are you?
Good evening, Rasmi. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm so glad thank you for accepting the request and joining. We are really looking forward to talking to you.
My pleasure, Rasmi. My pleasure. Please.
Okay, looking at your diverse profile, I put the onus on you of introducing yourself because I find it very difficult to summarize it in few sentences. So please introduce yourself.
Right. It's been quite challenging right now, introduce yourself, right? But yeah, to introduce myself in some few words or few lines, I would tell that, uh, I might be, considered or might be introduced by someone like someone who has never given up, right? Because the challenges that I face right from my law school days till now, there's a lot of hurdles, right? So, a brief background of myself: I'm not from a top tier law colleges that have graduated, or not from a national law universities. So that initially, after 12, when you give CLAT and exam, so every students have the level of cracking CLAT as well, right? So once you could not crack CLAT and get admission into law in some other colleges, it is in your mind some way or the other that you couldn't get into top national law universities, right? So that becomes a pressure that you have to now perform excessively well to compete with others.
Right,
From day
it's an
one, what
added
I thought.
pressure which you put on yourself.
Right, exactly. And from day one, I was thinking like this way, like my competitors are not only my classmates, my competitors are from the other people from other colleges who are in my batch, right? So I have to compete all of them to be in the best in the market, right? So that was some of the challenges that I had. But lately, once I started doing all these things, so I believe initially you would face some hurdles, but if you have an attitude of never giving up and face what it comes one at a time, I believe you would achieve it. And right now, I believe, still, I believe I am not in a stage, but still in a stage to tell, that law school, from which law schools you are passing out, doesn't matter if you really have the skill set that the market wants. So, I would be love to introduce by, first with someone like, someone who has never given up. So that would be a one-liner thing that, one can be introducing myself. So yeah, that's
Right. Because I have seen your profile and you have been doing moods, have been the convener of your mood court society. Even now, you are heading the placement cell of your college, um, starting something like the Amicus Curiae. I mean, I am really passionate about these things, but what I'm looking forward in this conversation, what I'm going to focus for this conversation is you pursuing data privacy and IT laws for your masters, because it's very rare that I get to talk to someone who is pursuing a masters in this area. So,
right.
how did you get motivated for this?
Right. So again, very, the answer doesn't lie in a single particular word. So as I already mentioned, I was, not graduated from a top tier national law universities. So as I mentioned, I always thought of, competing with people who are from different other colleges in my batch. So while competing, while exploring different areas of laws, I found out, to build, not to build a career on the conventional areas of laws that has been
Right.
already been taught in the law school, but to build a career on something that is unconventional, there is something very new, something very futuristic, and something that is going to develop in India as a career in the law for the upcoming next 80 to 100 years, right? So like this way, if you have seen, I previously worked with the different aviation law firms
Yes,
specifically.
yes.
Yeah, so I previously worked with the Airport Authority of India. Then I worked with Dentist Legal. I handled cases of that time of Akasa Airways was the new airline that particular point of time. I also handled some cases of Air India. Later, I joined the legal team of Delhi International Airport, where I handled a lot of aviation related cases. Right. So one of my dream was to pursue the aviation laws. So see, aviation laws, maritime laws, maritime arbitration, sports laws as such, insurance, space laws. These are some of the new aspects of laws. These are billion-dollar industries in India right now. If you just compare their industry size, right? And till today, if I tell you, not, I believe 77, 78 years of independence, we are standing here. And till today, we do not have 100 aviation lawyers in the
Right.
country. So that is again one of the biggest challenges. All the airlines that you see right now, all the carriers that you see of all the airlines, nobody owns those, right? All of them have been leased out, right? and they have a contract of lease agreement for either might be quarterly or half yearly or yearly according to the contract. So that is there. So along with that, if you see those transaction, cross-border transaction of billions of dollars have been signed by less than 100 of lawyers in India. Why these numbers? So it's not like they don't have any work or something. They have work, they have a lot of work, they have a lot of money as well. But people at the base level are not aware of it. If
Right.
you ask any student right now from any law school, be it NLU or be it from other law schools, most of the people would be inclined towards going to corporate field. Some might be interested or inclined toward judiciary. A very few to the practitioner side and few to the research or teaching field,
Right.
right? So these are the 4 to 5 things that comes up, right? So I was always on the side that I would not wish to pursue something that is already there in the market, but something that is already upcoming and evolving, right? So choosing data privacy was again one of the subjects because I was already working. I had no plans of doing some masters right now at this particular point of time. But during my working of the Delhi airport, I had dealt with a lot of these data privacy issues. At that particular point of time, I was very curious to what exactly is this, because the law came very very new.
Right.
It was back the last year, August 2023. So it's just 1 year that the law came in. Until the law is not enforced, we have an act, but it's still not enforced, right? So when I researched about it, I found out there are only few colleges, universities, I must say, abroad that provides a master's in data privacy. And in India, you might find that some diploma courses provided by some university, but master was provided by only the university that I am pursuing to. So again, that inclined me because as everyone tells, data is the new oil. So data is something through which all these businesses are run. They're actually monitoring the customer. They're actually triggering marketing strategies according to the need of the customer. You only get to see those particular ads that you wish to see,
Right.
right? So that is something. So I believe this is something that this is develop, right? It will develop in the upcoming days, and this is something I need to do. And as of now, then if once the act get enforced, if I'm pursuing a master's, once the act get enforced, I would be of high demand in the market, right? Because
Right.
I'll be having the requisite skill sets. So that inclined me toward pursue a master degree in data privacy and IT. That is something very very upcoming.
Right. And as you mentioned, only the university from which you are pursuing is offering masters in that area. That gives you an
Correct.
upper hand because you will have very minimum competition.
Right.
As you mentioned that students these days do not know about these laws and they only know about litigation inclined towards corporate litigation judiciary. So one of the aim of starting beyond the brief was to help law students think beyond the confines of corporate litigation and judiciary. At the
Right.
very least, like they think about academia. This is what I have seen in my peer group. Now, talking about the opportunities, of course, as you mentioned, there are a lot of opportunities in data privacy and IT laws, which got you interested in that area. But it is also very complex in nature. I mean, from what I can imagine, working in data privacy means going through hundreds of pages for this just one thing. So you must have a liking towards it. I mean, opportunity is one thing, then working something on so tedious, you need to have a liking towards it. So did you have that since your start, like since the beginning, or did you develop it with time? What's the story?
So, that is one of the myth I believe because till the experiences I have, data privacy is not such tedious thing like the other subject areas of laws, right?
Okay.
Because as of now, it's still in the initial stage. A lot of thing, on a notification are yet to come from the government. But whatever we have till now, right now, it's not of more of the tedious tasks of having judgments or something of hundreds and thousands because we do not have any single judgment because the law
Right.
is yet to be enforced, right?
Yes.
So we don't have any judgment to refer from. Only thing that we refer is through the act, right? Or if you're working for an MNC, then we refer to the that particular countries if they have a particular data privacy. For example, if there is any company which is a European company, so the European Union as a whole have a data privacy laws named
I'm
UGDPR.
so sorry
So
to
we comply
interrupt,
with that.
but I just have one question just to clear my fundamentals. I think data privacy comes under the regulatory part of the company or the contract. Is
Right,
that
right.
okay?
As of now, only the compliances and the regulations is something that is doing because we do not have the proper implementation of the act right
Right.
now. So maybe once it gets implemented, enforced, then might be more of the legal work come start. Right now, the more of the work on the technical side. So as of now, as a data privacy lawyer, we are only advising the company. We are actually making awareness to the company how important it is to have a data privacy policy basically. We're drafting the privacy policy. So basically, if you see, whenever you open an application at your mobile phone or at your devices, there is a terms and condition or a privacy policy that comes up, right?
Mm.
And we say yes, 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 yes to access that app. We do not read those, right?
We
So
do not
those are
have
as
an
of now
option
drafted.
of not agreeing to that.
Exactly. Right now, we do not have an option to, but probably once that comes into force, the data principles or the data subjects will have a probably a option to choose those, right? So those things are now drafted by the lawyers, right? Apart from that, lawyers are also checking in, for example, if there is a e-commerce business. So basically, we'll check like what are the sources of, collecting of the data, right? So one might be directly by logging into the app, some might be doing some surveys, some might be some financial informations. Then we'll also see there is a concept of data minimization. So it's basically we should not take those data that are unnecessary, right? For an e-commerce website or e-commerce platform, what are the necessary data that you think? It's the address, the name of the customer, and the financial details, like the transaction details, right?
Right.
What do you need? Why do you need a birth date or the gender or maybe that the gender is still fine, but birth date or maybe some other data that is not necessary. But
Right.
we collect those data, right? So the lawyer's task is again to advise the company on that aspect. What is the process of data minimization? What are the data that you cannot take those, and you can
Right.
minimize those data or delete those particular data so that there is a lesser chance of a data breach happening. But again, the processing, collecting, transferring, everything happens through a software or through the IT guys, right? So a lot of the tasks have been given to those particular people. But again, to advise those to have a proper framework, a structure, the data privacy laws are happening. So mostly the regulations, the regulatory part, as of now, it is happening. The work is happening on that aspect, and a lot of the other tasks has been happening on the policy aspect. Apart from those, as of now, we do not have any particular work. But yeah, as soon as the enforcement comes into place, there might be a lot many works that opens up for the law students or for the future lawyers as well. Yeah,
Right. You need to be prepared for the future opportunities that we can
right.
see in the near future. Okay. So if the students who are watching this, or maybe a few students who are already interested in data privacy or pursuing IT laws, what are the foundational steps or the essential skills that they must have if they want to enter into this territory?
Right. Uh, so I'll tell you, it's not necessary to have that particular skill, but again, if you have that particular skills, it would be really helpful. So, like my experience, whatever I have learned for the past 3 months, 3.5 months, is that, if you have a technical background or a science background or
Right.
an understanding of basic physics, chemistry, and other parts, so it would be helpful because, in our master degree program, apart from the legal subjects, we're also been taught a lot of technical subjects, right? A lot of 11, 12 physics that we're learning, and some basics of engineering, the basics of IT, basics of computer science, right? So I especially, coming from a commerce background, it is very hard for me to grab those things, right?
Right.
It's really difficult at times to grab those concepts. And probably in the upcoming semester, we'll also have the basic knowledge and technicalities of softwares like the coding like Java, C++, Python. We'll teach those. I'm still scared. I don't know how will I overcome the subjects.
Right.
So all of this because as one of my faculty told that to become a technology lawyer, you need to be known to the technology first. You need to
Right.
know the technology first, right?
Absolutely.
Unless and until you know the technology, you cannot become a technology lawyer because most of the work as a data privacy lawyer would be with the engineering people, right? And they won't have the time to break you with understanding, making you understand each and every terminologies. So that is something we are expected to know the basics of each and every terminologies. So that is one of the aspects of it. So I believe if you have a science background, it is good. Or maybe you've done engineering, computer science, you want to shift your career to a legal path, then also it's a very good option. But again, it's not a compulsory. As you can see, myself as an example, I'm not from a science background, still I'm pursuing. It will be a little bit difficult at the initial levels, but I believe over a year or two you can overcome all of these things because you are not knowing, like you don't have to know the exact every details about all these technological terms. It's just the basics that you need to know. So that's all. That is, I
Right.
believe, it's enough for anyone to do.
So people pursuing BSc LLB, data privacy is a very good option for them. And
Right. But again, BSc LLB, I don't think a lot of colleges have the option to.
right,
Very few
no,
colleges
those
in
who are
India. Yeah.
pursuing
Yeah.
BSc LLB, I'm talking about
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
And
That
then
that is
if
that
you
is
had science in your plus two, and
12.
if you
Yeah.
liked it, because I was someone, I
Yeah.
started C++ plus plus in my 11th grade, and then I shifted to Hindi because it was just not my thing. I could not do it.
Right.
So if you had science, it is a plus point if you have a liking towards it. Even if you did not have science, just make sure that you are really enjoying the technical and those aspects uh,
Right.
to pursue this. Right. And what are the steps? Like, what are the initial steps that one should take? I have a science background and I have a liking towards science, and I have made my mind that I want to pursue career in data privacy. Now, being in my second year, third year, or fourth year, what should I start doing that will help me in future?
All right. So again, data privacy is something, that you don't study in your UG, right? It's a very, very niche field of
Yes,
law in which you master, right? In UG, the nearby subject that comes around data privacy is cyber laws that has been
yes.
taught by the different law schools.
Even cyber
But
laws
again,
is not taught in all the law schools.
right, right. But most of the law schools still now they have a subject of cyber laws. Um, Many might not have it, but most of them have it, right?
Right.
So that is something quite a similar thing, but not exactly similar because the terminology they act it differs. But I don't know how much it would be effective from next year because then the syllabus of would be have to be evolved because whatever information I have right now is that Digital India Act would be coming in by 2025, which would be replacing the Information Technology Act of 2000, right? Because a lot of these new cyber criminal activities like deepfake and some attempts through AI, where they modulate your voice of asking money from someone, right? So, for example, they pretend to be Rashmi and calling your father, and they will
Right.
just narrate that they are in some situation and give me money, this and that, right? So those things are not defined in the IT law as of now.
Right.
So again, those laws have some provisions in the Digital India Act. So once that act particular come in, maybe you have to read those particular act and then get it. Data privacy, as of now, as I already mentioned, very few law firms have it. The big four have a data privacy team because it's on the regulatory part. A lot of consultancy firm are data privacy team which do a consultancy. The big companies, the startups have a data privacy team. So there you can intern if you really wish to do so. Some law firms are coming up right now. I know some of the law firms in Gujarat and Calcutta, they have their exclusive data privacy team and doing so. I'll tell you very frankly, right now, data privacy team in India, like the DPDP Act, as I already mentioned, that it is not even enforced. The
Right.
tax is not exactly through DPDP, but the companies that are MNC companies, for example, there is a Singaporean company operating in India or an Indian company operating in Singapore. Likewise, European company operating in India or Indian company operating in Europe, right?
Hmm.
They need to follow the data privacy laws that has been there in those particular countries. They
Right.
need to comply with those, right? So a lot of the work as of now, the law firms or maybe the big four or other consultancy firms are doing are on those aspects, right? So you once you join in as an intern or as an employee, most of the work would be on foreign laws and foreign regulations that to make sure that your company or your client is following that. So that is one such thing that is happening right now. And once the DPDP enforced, you will have a lot many work in India itself. I don't know after that how many of this law firm will be able to hold those foreign clients that they're holding right now. Because India, it's a vast, vast country, lakhs and thousands of companies are there. And as I mentioned, right from a kirana store to MNC, everybody is collecting your data, right? And
Right.
all your data that is personal and that is there in digital, or maybe that is collected physically but later uploaded on a digital platform to maintain the records, all fall under DPDP. And mind it, trust me when I tell you, all these conventional laws have a penalty of around 10, 15,000, a very, very nominal amount of
Yes.
penalties that is there for a data fiduciary is basically the companies which are collecting data. So those companies, if the breach, any kind of breach happened, right? So there is two type of breaches. Something when you have maintained all the records, you have tried to maintain all the precautions, still a data breach happened, and something that it is because of your fault a data breach happened. either of the case, you would be penalized. The penalty might be lesser or more, depending on if you have taken more precaution, a lesser penalty would be
That
applied, or if you have taken no
approves.
then by
Right.
precautions, a higher penalty would be imposed. So that depends on the data privacy board that would come up. But again, penalty would be imposed to data fiduciary, and those penalties goes up to 250 crores. So that's a
Damn.
huge amount of penalty, right?
Right.
By
It's
getting that penalty,
detrimental.
some companies, yeah, even that company can even file for a bankruptcy, because 250 crores is something not very joking for a startup
Right.
companies, right? A bigger companies like Tata, Adani, or Reliance can afford it. But for example, if a startup company for 8, 9 years which is operating, it's very hard to give them that money.
Yeah.
And there is a concept in a DPDP, a significant data fiduciary. So basically, the significant data fiduciary is basically those companies which handle a lot of data, right? Now, this numbers of how exactly a lot of data it's not till yet mentioned in the act. It will come up in the upcoming notification. But the volumes of data, if there is high, for example, the payment aggregators, the e-commerce websites, or even the food apps like Zomato, Swiggy, they have a lot of data. Or the quick commerce industry, they have a lot of customer data, right? So they would come on the significant data fiduciary. So those companies would be in the first hirings of the government, in case of there is a breach. Then those companies would be the first to face the heat and of the fine.
Right.
So they need to have a robust privacy policy so that they can at least minimize the fine, because either way the fine is going to be levied on them if there is a breach, right? Even if there is no fault of yours. But at least you should try the lesser the fine, the lesser, it will be helpful to them as well. Yeah.
Yes, so I don't know why, but I just want to share this as we are talking about data privacy and IT laws and cyber laws. So just today I read a news where a man is checking his UPI on shops and other things, and the headline said, "Digital India gone wrong." And because we were about to talk today, and I was like, man, this data privacy is not future, it's the present now. We need this act to be enforced as soon as possible. And all of the, I mean, when we talk about data privacy and IT laws, we think about MNCs, but it's not just MNCs. It's like it's for common people. We are giving our data to coaching centers, to kirana stores, to salons, everywhere, not just e-commerce
Right.
websites or other way. And the crimes are also happening everywhere. I mean, a man sticking
Right.
his UPI in place of a shop's UPI. He got arrested from a petrol pump. He was trying to put it there also. I was like, okay, now we need this act as soon as possible. So the opportunities are huge. And as we
Definitely.
talk about these laws being like equally relevant for the smaller statue of the society, common people are not as aware as they should be. I mean, we do
Right.
not read the privacy laws, the terms and conditions. For one of the reasons is we do not have an option of denying it. But even if we have the option of denying it, I don't think many of us are going to read. Because even today, before giving a, we can say no for giving our phone numbers in shopping malls while billing, but we don't do that. We don't even put our minds into it. We are only concerned if we get unwarranted or unnecessary texts and
Right.
promotional texts. But we are not aware. So, do you think that is a huge challenge, even if we enforce the laws?
Uh, Absolutely. Awareness is something that needs to be started right from the grassroots level, right? Unless and until we're making the data principle aware, you know, doesn't matter how much stricter laws we have, because there will be no one to utilize their rights, right? So law is as good as how people use it, right? For whom the laws are there. So again, as I mentioned in the industry, the lawyers which are pursuing data privacy or have started practicing data privacy, a lot of their time has been going to making companies aware. Leave about small data principle like you and me. If the companies which are running multi-crore business, even they are hesitant to have a privacy policy or a privacy team, because it will incur some cost. So they're not taking this act very seriously because they're seeing as a burden. But it is not a burden anymore, right? If you see the developed nations like the Europe or Singapore, or maybe in US, you only have in California. We have in Middle East like Dubai and UAE. So these all countries have a data privacy, robust data privacy laws. And those laws are not very old. They started in 2018-19, right? Right before the COVID and some right after the COVID. If you see the enforcement of those laws, right?
Right.
But still, it has been 5 to 6 years. Those laws have been came in on those particular countries, and they're very, very robust. Last, I believe, a week ago, something I saw a news where LinkedIn itself got breached, and they got
Yes.
some fines in some millions of dollars by the Ireland court, right?
Right.
Because they were actually, using the user data of Ireland to do targeted marketing. That was not supposed to do. So there is also a concept wherein, you in the DPDP, wherein data, like the purpose of a collecting of the data is mentioned, right? So if I, collect your data and I tell you, "Okay, I'm collecting this data for my research purpose," and if I, use the data for any other single purpose, you as an data principal can actually file a complaint of data breach or misuse of your own data, right? Or you can also ask the data fiduciary to delete that particular data or removal of that particular data. So that is the right that has been given. But again, all these rights are on paper unless and until you use it, right? Unless and until you are educated enough, right? And one of the things, the previously with some few of the podcast and previously when I was discussing with the industry leaders, I told them like one of the suggestions that I gave from my end, all these laws and everything or all the policies or even the notices that comes up in like a pop-up when you open a new application in the phone, like the privacy policy or the terms and condition comes up in English, right? Till today, it's very sad reality. The English language, or the English literacy, if I say, in India, it's quite less,
It's
right?
very low. Yeah.
Uh, it's very low, right? A lot of the people, there are a lot of literate people, but if I compare literate people with English literate people, we'll find the number very, very low. So they might
Looking
be
at the
literate in their
diversity
vernacular
of our
language.
nation, we need to have it in regional languages as well.
Right. A vernacular language is needed to be there, right? You should always have an option of, providing these notices
Even
in the
Hindi is
regional
not,
language.
the most used
Right.
language. If you go towards South, they do not know Hindi.
Right.
Uh, I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a
So
challenge.
yeah, it's a big challenge.
That's a challenge, that's thing, so I always talk to these people and say, why not use these notices in the vernacular language so that at least they can tell, "Okay, yes, I've read it," because if there is a breach and those people comes up into the court and tell, "Yeah, I'm not able to read English because I'm not literate," the ball is on your court, right? You might have something. You cannot tell the court that, it's only that, I only have
Right,
English
it's their
notification or
fault.
something, right? Yeah. So either way, it's going to affect you. So it's better at least you'll have at least something on your favor. Key, it was in the vernacular language. At least you have read all the clauses and then gave his or her consent. And we have taken all precautions, and then the data got breached. That is out of our control. So there is a chance of getting lesser penalty. So I believe this is something that the companies or the data fiduciaries might adapt in the future of providing notices or giving their privacy policies in the vernacular languages. So that thing need to be there. But as of now, awareness definitely is one of the bigger cause that need to be taken care of right from the grassroots level. Because the government should, try to do it. I believe the Ministry of Information and Technology is in charge of implementing this law across nation. So yeah, those ministries will be have to provide this information right at the grassroots level because they have to make people aware and simultaneously the data fiduciaries, like for example, whichever apps we are using right now in a mobile phone, have some basic obligations that we should provide the notices and everything in a vernacular language so that it can be more accessible and understandable by the people who are actually reading it for them to understand why I'm giving the data, which all data I'm giving, and if in case I want to withdraw my data from that particular organization or the rights. Because if you read any privacy policy right now of any of the companies, you see there is a mention of in case if you want to erase your data from their server, you can do so, right? Because I'll give you very, very few example. Like, for example, if you go to a McD or a KFC, right? We give your email ID, we give your name, we give your phone
Yes.
number, right? We don't know what the data, whatever they'll do with the number, right? And very simple example, even lesser than that, we go to the Xerox shop for the printouts of our Aadhaar card, PAN card, or any other important documents, or even our school or college reports or our mark sheet, right? We do not know. We just tell them, we just send them our email and WhatsApp. They give us the printout and we just go back. We don't tell
Right.
them to delete the data from their server or something right in front of us. After a few days, if you see, we get a lot of promotional text from different companies and that we have never even signed up for. How does that happen, right? It only happens because those data have been sold out by those Xerox companies, right? So very, as I already mentioned, that awareness should be there from that grassroots level to a MNC level company, right? Because then only the things can be changed. Although these laws to evolve in India, it will take some time, but
Right.
hoping for the best. Yeah,
Right. So what I can gather after talking to you is first, data privacy is big opportunities are there, lies there. You just need to be prepared before it opens up for you to be ahead of others. So there's less competition. Second, one who has a science background or a liking towards science should enter into it, and ones who
right,
want to enter, checking all the boxes. Uh, they should start interning with the companies who are working towards data privacy. They can maybe take some certificate courses or online courses as available and as suitable to them. Now, awareness is a big problem, and the DPDP Act, which is most probably will be coming in force in the next few months, is going to open up the opportunities, and it will be a mm, robust and a written law for particularly for data privacy. As of now, we do not have any such law in force.
right.
Right. So I think mm, as of now, these are the most important questions which I had for data privacy. Now I want to talk a little about your journey. So how these hundreds of things like doing moots and then uh, doing different internships with aviation, judicial internships, corporate, and then now pursuing a LLM and data privacy, also running something like the Amicus Curiae, how all of these things have helped and shaped your journey.
Right. That's a fascinating question, basically. I didn't thought of, going through this because I just did whatever came in my path, right? So, as I already mentioned, that I was right from the first year journey, I was always, in my mind, I thought, as I've not got into an NLU, so I might be doing something extra so that I stand up in the competition. And, might be for that particular reason, I ended up doing so many internship. Some are with those tier one law firms, some with these biggest companies in India. And like I explored each and every particular field. Like I explored litigation, I explored the law firm journey, I explored as an in-house counsel. I also, interned at several government tribunals as well and government bodies as well, PSUs as well. I also interned judiciary. So yeah, it all came all by one by one. I was for the initial years, if I talk about the amicus curiae, the journey. So for the initial first and second year, I was working at different other legal ed tech startup that was operating right now. I don't know how many of those companies operate right now. So after going through those particular companies, I worked at several positions in those particular companies in the first 2 years of my law school journey. And after working there, I thought there was some gaps, right? Because the quality of the material or the courses or whatever things, education, the way they're providing was good enough. But the prices was very, very price
Right.
sensitive, right? And most of their target audience was basically from these national law universities or from these tier one colleges in the metro cities. So I saw, the majority of the population, if you see, if we as of now in India, I believe we have more than 2,600 plus law school only, law colleges in India only. All right.
Yes.
And hardly 50 to 60 colleges are there, which are premium law schools. So the 90 or 95% of these colleges are even not targeted. So that's where my idea of the amicus curiae came in, wherein I thought of, providing this quality education to those people who are not able to afford this kind of education. I cannot, so for example, I cannot go to Meerut, Kanpur, or Lucknow and tell, buy my course of 1 month and give me 30,000 rupees. I doubt how many of the people would be giving it because most of their college fees are 20, 25,000 in the entire year. So they
Yes.
won't pay for, 20, 25, 30,000 for a monthly course. So that was something. So without degrading the quality of the education, we thought of integrating quality with the affordability aspects. Also, that's the reason for the past 1.5 years, I've tried to collaborate with maximum of the law firms. If you go through our LinkedIn page of the Amicus Curiae, you see all the certificate courses that we organize are being organized in association with some of the other law firms.
Yes.
And the basic motive of this particular thing is that, unlike other organizations which are present in the industry, after every certificate courses, we guarantee one internship opportunity, at least one. It can be up to two or three, depending on the vacancies of that particular month to those particular students who are the top performers of this course. And now this top performer doesn't have we do not check these top performers to a college uh, glass. We see them if even if you're from a tier two, tier three law colleges, if you have the merit, you crack the exam, be a top performer. We give you the platform to intern at top tier law firm. Doesn't matter if we have a prior experience of interning at various other law firms or not. So that's the reason for the last 1.5 years, we have seen a lot many people enroll in our courses and getting selected at several internship. And later those internship have been converted into assessment internship and people getting jobs out there. So that gives me an inner happiness
It
as well.
must be
See the
very
motive for which I
satisfying to you.
started. Yeah. Right, right,
Also,
definitely.
as you
Because
mentioned that when you entered your law school and you were sort of self-eliminating yourself that you have not entered in NLU, do you ever look back and think, oh my God, I have covered a long journey, I've come a long way?
definitely, right now I get invited by even several NIDUs as well for different other competitions to judge their events and well. So whenever I get this invitation, each and every time I get this invitation from any other colleges, I feel, whatever the journey has been right now till now, although some point of time I do face some challenges, but I believe the zeal that was there
Of
with
course,
me
challenges are
that
never
helped me
going
to
to
overcome.
stop. Yeah.
Right. So that definitely give me a goosebump every time I, go and sit here and, whatever things I have achieved over the last 5, 6 years help me to, become whatever I am today. So it definitely, helped you to redefine yourself, give you a 2.0 version of yourself. So it's only thing, up till today I can say, because I've heard a lot of people say, your law school doesn't matter. But, I was not believing those, unlike this happened to me right now. And yeah, I can surely say in law school doesn't really matter if you have the zeal to learn. It doesn't matter from whichever law school that you're studying from. If you have zeal to do something new, you can do it from any other end. And you will see in the upcoming 5 to 10 years, you too been invited by those national law school that was one of your dream colleges that back at your college time. And you might be the chief guest in the
It's
upcoming 10
it's
years.
really
Yeah.
inspiring to hear your story because, of course, as you said, people do say that law school does not matter. But when we see those discriminations and those things firsthand, we tend to not believe that those statements that it does not matter. But hearing some from someone like you who have surpassed it at some level and you're doing so well, so it is inspiring and reassures us that okay, we can also do the same and we can also surpass this tag of NLUs and non-NLUs. And yeah, so congratulations, many congratulations on your
Thank you.
achievements, and we wish you all the very best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you, Rashmi. It is all your blessings, like people like you who have blessed us and supported us throughout the last 4 years of the Amicus Curiae journey and prior to that as well. I believe it is all their love and blessings that have helped us to be in this particular place. We hope that you continue to support us so that we can, make sure and make the journey of the other law student better in this particular field of work. So yeah,
Of course, because if you are providing value, you will get the blessings, obviously. And thank you so much for speaking to us. It was a pleasure having you, and I'm so glad that you took out time and shared your experiences and insights with us. I'm sure many law students will benefited from it. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you.
thank you, Rasmi. Thank you for inviting me. Again, congratulations to you too, for making this initiative so good. Because I believe with the change of technology, people are more inclined toward listening to podcast or maybe listening it to the Spotify as well. So that is one way of converting accessible education. So a lot of these people through this online mode can actually learn through this podcast, right? It will also have a very good impact on the people who would be listening to this podcast and any other upcoming podcast that you come from. So really a very good initiative. Congratulations on that part as well. And thank you so much for inviting me. It was really a pleasure talking to you. And through this podcast, we learn a lot of things. It's the exchange of words, and the things that we learn from you. I'll definitely keep in mind how positivity to come in forward. I will took this thing positively. Thank you so much, Rasmi.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your kind words. Uh, I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
For sure, for sure. Same, same. Yeah.
Yeah.